Hello, welcome back to Behind the Faders, the live sound channel. Today I want to talk about learning. And while I'm aware of the fact that all my technical videos do a lot better than anything about mindset or storytelling, I will still keep making these videos because I think there's a lot more to this job than knowing the best compressor settings and how to mic a drum kit. Mindset and soft skills are very important. I think we all know that we never stop learning. No matter how long you are in the business, you never stop learning. And if you think you will come to a point where you know everything, then you better find another job right away. And in the analog days, it worked like this. Every generation found out new things just by gaining experience and trying out stuff. And then the next generation would learn these things really quickly because they were just told by the generation before. And especially when, at least in Germany, when this profession became like official in the late 90s, now people learned this at school. You know, stuff that took years to work out and define now was learned within one sentence. But then when it comes to learning, something happened to my generation and the generations around that never happened before and will probably never happen again, or at least not in the foreseeable future. Because when we were like maybe 15 years or even just 10 years or 20 years, 25 years into our career, at a point where we thought we knew, well, most of what there was to know about this business, there came the digital revolution and everything changed. I mean, since I was in the business, there were always like digital effects machines. Then later on, there were digital EQs, digital crossovers, all these devices. But all of these devices were connected with analog cables. So then the first digital desks came up. And yeah, we had to learn them, but these desks as well were usually in an analog environment. So the real revolution started, at least in my opinion, when connections became digital. Because now all of a sudden we had to learn about digital networking, IP addresses, IP conflicts, word clock, tons of software for desks, for digital crossovers, prediction software came up, and all these things started at the same time, and we had a ton of new things to learn every day. While other knowledge that we had gained over years, and which was really, really essential, all of a sudden became almost obsolete. For example, grounding and shielding was a real big one in the analog world. Because it was not unusual, let's say, when we set up for a festival, which was a lot more work than these days anyway, because this was also before line arrays. So to set up a PA was not one banana right and one banana left. It was one truck of PA per side. So it was a whole day of work. And then when we switched everything on, very often there was a buzz or a hum on the system. And we easily sometimes spent the half of the night after that trying to get rid of that hum. Checking the ground configuration. Really, you needed a star point grounding. And both of the desks had to come off the same source. We had transformers, but we had to put the transformer in the right position in the chains. And sometimes we had to unplug all the inputs from a desk to find out there was one channel that was causing the whole problem. So grounding was really a big one. And we had a lot of knowledge about that. While it is still useful to have some basic understanding of this, because after all, still components are connected with analog cables, and as soon as you connect few devices that have ground with analog cables, it might be helpful to know something about this. But it's far not as essential anymore. But now with digital connections, for example, your front of house power can come from anywhere. So very rarely do you still have problems with noise on the system. So all that knowledge was almost useless all of a sudden, while you had to learn so much more. And of course, when all these digital desks came along, we were all reluctant. We all said, oh, come on, this is far too complicated and it's not going to last, and analog will come back. Maybe you heard the saying, digital is faster, it just takes longer. And some people really refused. For example, my old mentor, Achim Schulze, who was for most of his life with the sound engineer of the Scorpions. I think he just retired last year or so. When all this started, he said, I just refuse. I found out so many things that now are taught within a sentence, and my brain is just full. I just refuse to dive into this. Even though Achim was very into electronics, so electronic gimmicks and stuff was his hobby. And he even came up with a very clever solution for festivals back then, because he converted a telephone system in a way that it could be connected with XLR through a multicore, and now we had a fax connection between the stage and the front of house, which was really useful because very often, until today, a band arrives at a festival and then the stage manager shows him the paperwork that we had, and they said, "Oh no, that's from 2 years ago. That's not true. That's not right anymore. We have an entirely new input list." And instead of getting on the intercom and telling front of house channel by channel, they could now send a fax with the new input list. So it was very helpful. So Achim was all into that, but he really refused to dive into the digital world. So everything that was digital, he left to other people. And I think at some point, I think he switched to a digital desk, but only one, and he only used that desk, I think, for the rest of his career. So that was one way of handling it. Well, he was front of house engineer for the Scorpions, so he had some freedom. But the rest of us, we had no choice. We had to go through this. And the big difference is now, in the old days, one generation would find out stuff and teach the next generation. And now this has kind of turned around, because while we tried hard to learn all this, and some people had it easier and others had it harder, but very often now we learn from the young people that grew up on digital, that have it baked into their DNA. So they have a much deeper understanding of some things than I have. So all of a sudden, I learn from the young people. And I don't know if a revolution like that will happen again anytime soon. I mean, now's the time where AI kind of worms its way into our business. There are already some desks that have AI built in. So an algorithm detects what kind of signals coming in and EQs it. I have never tried that so far. I don't know how much impact that will have. That's just the next thing I see coming. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. If you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. If you have a lot of questions, consider booking yourself a coaching call. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Still a lot of people watching my videos are not subscribed, and it's just a click. I'll see you around. Bye-bye.